My whole life, I've been a lot different than most people. And by that, I mean that I have a type of condition that's actually not so rare anymore. It's actually becoming more common for some reason. It's known as autism. And to go even deeper, specifically Asperger's syndrome. And what autism is there's different levels of it. There's high functioning autism, where it causes us to be really good at what we love to do for a living, and it makes us really passionate at that. And that's why some autistic people become some of the most skilled and well-known workers in the world. But at the same time, it causes us to be really selective with our learning, and we have a hard time learning stuff that we're not interested in or things that we struggle in. And in this video, I'm just going to talk about my life with autism, my life story, kind of my life story growing up with it. Some of the ways that I think my parents have really helped me, and some of the ways that my parents have made mistakes. Because this goes out to not only the parents but the kids as well, because they need to know that they're not alone. That there are a lot of other people out there who have autism, and there's a lot of parents who have children with autism, and this is basically so that, one, they don't make the same mistakes that I did and that my parents did, and so that they know that they have someone else that they can talk to, someone who feels the same way they do. So basically, growing up with autism, it started out when I was really young. My parents knew that something was up with me because I was able to speak in full sentences when I was only 2 years old. And they knew something was up because when I was in restaurants or in social situations, though, I would get really socially awkward, and I would scream and make a lot of noise and stuff. I get upset easily, and they knew something was up. And at age 4, I got diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. With high functioning, it makes us really passionate, but it causes selective learning. And low functioning, it basically causes us to have a hard time learning anything, especially communication skills, and a lot of times learning how to do things that we really love to do in life. Because it is a mental condition, and it can affect how your mind works, and therefore how your body works as well. But, growing up, when I was misbehaved in middle school, and here's another thing about autism that really needs to be out there, is that we really care a lot about our friends that we have in our life. Not just our family, but friends are just as important to us as well. And when we have, even if it's only one or two best friends in life that are really close to us, we care about that person so much that we would give anything to be with them. And if we lose that person, or find out that that person was never a real friend and was just a fake, like I've had happen to me, then it's really just the most unimaginable heartbreak you can think of. And I didn't have that many friends growing up. I was excluded a lot and bullied a lot in school. I had a hard time learning, and it was a very punishing environment. Instead of staff members helping me out to learn at a different level, they tried to make me learn at the standardized level, and basically tried to teach me like a robot, tried to program me. And that's not how you teach anybody, especially an autistic person. Because I was getting lonely all the time. I was depressed because I would have to miss recess every day, and I wouldn't be able to hang out with my friends or do anything fun. I was basically imprisoned, being told to do my homework. And they never bothered to take into consideration what I was feeling inside, or that I was having a hard time with it. They couldn't understand that. And that's the thing about autism, is that I think that it really would encourage the world to accept and be more open-minded towards diversity, because not everybody is the same. We don't all live by standards. We live by what we're capable of doing as a human being, and that's all we can do. And if that's not good enough for society, then what kind of society do we live in? I mean, so growing up, I was misbehaved a lot. I was doing a lot of dumb things for attention. Since I was bullied a lot, I tried to make people laugh because I knew that I at least felt good if I had people laughing at some of the dumb things that I did, or laughing with me if I found them funny too. And I was a troublemaker. My parents started putting me on medications, thinking it would help control my outbursts and my behavior, but it gave me really negative side effects. I would leave my closet light on at night with the door cracked open so that I wouldn't get scared from the dark. And every time I would have a side effect from a medication, this freaking crazy doctor that I had thought that drugs were the answer to everything, and he would keep giving me more drugs for those side effects, and pretty soon it was an endless tree of drugs and side effects, to the point where I actually passed out in class one time on a beanbag chair, hallucinating, seeing dancing ice cream cones and stuff, and everything was all bright and colorful. It was it was like being on an LSD trip. It was very, very weird, and like something out of a movie. And I woke up when I was at my house, and my mom had apparently picked me up from school, and I woke up and told my mom that I just had the weirdest dream of my life. And you know, that was just the kind of thing that really told me that I was going downhill, and my parents knew that I was going downhill as well. Because everyone at school kept on saying I was misbehaving, and they really, raising somebody with autism or Asperger's is a learning experience within itself. And I'm not trying to tell other parents out there how to raise their children. I'm just trying to give them some advice so that they don't make some of the same mistakes that my parents did, and so that they can see certain things that they may be up against before it happens or while it's happening, so that they know how to take corrective action and how to do what's really needed. And growing up, I had a bit of a problem with my father. Every time I would have a tantrum or get upset, he would try to basically scare me into shutting up. He got really angry and impatient with me. He shook me, he hit me. He would spit in my face when he knew that it bothered me. And it really, really was an abusive environment. And he never learned from it. He still has done stuff like that to me to this day. Even though I've overcome a lot of the issues that I've had in the past, he still sees me as just a troubled person and a hooligan. And that's not at all what I am deep down inside. And the only reason that I act that way is because I know that he can't see me for who I truly am, and no level of communication will make him change that. And that's another thing with Asperger's syndrome, is that a lot of times parents automatically think that they know the answer to everything when their autistic child is having a problem. They think they know what the solution is when they really don't. They don't know what that person is feeling on the inside, because that person doesn't know how to communicate it. And when they do finally find a way to do that and communicate it, their parents aren't really willing to accept that their son or daughter is finally opening up to them and is communicating, because they feel confused and amazed at the same time that their kid is able to speak about those things. And at the same time, they don't listen to what they have to say, and they say, no, that this can't be real. But they don't want to listen to it because they think that their kid is just going off on another crazy tangent, and that they don't know what they're talking about. And that's not at all what's happening. Not at all. Because I've felt these things my whole life. I've known other friends who have had the same problems that I have. And let me tell you, as a parent, I'm not trying to tell you how to raise your kid. I'm just telling you that that I want to give you some advice. That there's certain things that you just can and can't do. I mean, of course you can do them, but it just doesn't make them right, and it doesn't always work out. So, more than anything, autistic people being excluded in life, having trouble making friends, more than anything, they just want people to hear them and listen to them explain how they're feeling, and possibly even who they really are as a person. And as a parent, if you can't do that, it's going to lead to frustration, and it can even lead to your kid becoming aggressive, because I did before. When my parents only got aggressive with me and didn't listen to what I was feeling or my perspective on things, it made me so mad. And when my parents got aggressive with me, I tried to tell them otherwise, but my parents, my dad always tried to shut me up. My mom didn't really do that, and she was really there for me a lot, but my dad always trying to shut me up all the time, trying to basically spank me and punish me and hurt me, make me feel like I wasn't loved whenever I was going off on a tangent or having a tantrum. He really made me resent him. And a couple of times I got really violent with him, because when he started to get aggressive with me, he wouldn't stop hurting me and just wouldn't listen to how I was feeling. When he saw that I was upset, he just continued hurting me and making me cry even harder. And it got to the point where I lashed out and I hit him a few times. I tried to claw his eyes out a few times. I headbutted him really hard like a metalhead. I punched him in the crotch a few times, and he made me feel like I had a reason to do that, though. He made me feel like I had to defend myself and try to preserve my own well-being when I was around him, instead of him compassionately, listening to me and seeing how I felt. And I've known other autistic friends who have done that, who have actually had that happen to them. And I feel really sorry, not only for those kids for having to go through that growing up, but also for the parents for not seeing it until now. Because a lot of times it's too late when certain parents find out something about their child that they didn't know when they were younger. It's already too late. That kid has either grown up and moved on, or has really hurt themselves and has not gotten anywhere, and it's too late to change anything. So that's just why I want to put it out there before it's too late. So that other parents, I'm sure that there's plenty of parents out there who are very, 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 very great, and very near and dear to their kids, and really do all they can to try to raise them. But you've got to listen to how they feel and what they want to talk about, because they're living in a world that doesn't exactly accept them for who they are, and won't exactly listen to them either. After all, I mean, look at me. I got bullied a lot. When I finally did have close friends, it all ended quick when middle school was over. Of course, going into high school, kind of a prison for an autistic person, because most people there are what you would consider normal. They're all bent on trying to be popular and trying to fit in, and most of them are really good at it, at trying to seem cool. And I wasn't really considered cool. I was seen as more of a nerd, and since everyone knew that I was special needs, pretty much, I got excluded a lot. I got singled out. I was bullied. And as it turns out, a lot of those friends that I thought were going to be there for me all those years, they turned out to be fakes, and they slammed me into the dirt with it. They really let me have it, and that's just one of those things that autistic people are really sensitive about, is when we lose somebody that we care about, it really, really hurts us deep down inside to see all this unpeacefulness and all this hostility in the world. Considering that we're all put on here on this earth to live together as one and to unite, and yet we're judging each other and attacking each other. We're expecting each other to change things about us that we can't even change. We can't change who we are. And the reason why other people bully us is because they want us to try to fit in, but they just can't accept that everybody's different, because it just doesn't seem as cool to them. And that's one of the hardest things about being Asperger's, is that I didn't fit in very well, and I got bullied a lot. And on top of that, since I was losing all my friends at that time, it really hurt me a lot. And I was so depressed by it. I thought the world was all a bad place, about hearing all the poor ways that autistic kids were treated. All those crazy stories on the news about child abuse and, bullying in schools, and how it's caused people to even commit suicide. And it made me feel like the world was so bad. And I know this is kind of off topic, but the Sandy Hook shooter, he was autistic, and at least that's what I heard from my parents when they told me about it, because they had a serious conversation with me, and they were worried that if I got too much more depressed or upset during that difficult time I was in, that I was going to end up like the Sandy Hook shooter. And I don't have any desire to do that. But what happened was, that kid was so bullied in school and treated so badly. He had no friends, pretty much had no personality and no interest growing up. And it got to the point when he was older, he thought that the world was just a hellhole, and he wasn't gonna let the world try to tell him what to do, and he was gonna try to show the world that he just wants to be understood, and how tired he is of being picked on and singled out and told to shut up. And he ended up shooting the school. And when he realized how many people he had killed, and how horrible it was to see people die like that, knowing that people can change what they do, he saw that, and that he had just killed those people. And he felt bad that he didn't know how to communicate it all those years, and he shot himself at the end. And that was a really, really sad story, because it's becoming more and more of a problem all across the country and all across the world. Every day you hear more stories of especially autistic people or special needs people who just don't fit in as well in society, lashing out because they didn't fit in, and they were tired of being mistreated, and they just wanted to be loved and be cared about, and they wanted people to listen to them. So it's becoming a real problem. Not the Asperger's or the autism itself, but the way that we deal with it as a society. It's becoming a big epidemic, because Asperger's, autism, those kind of things are becoming more and more common. And it really should not be considered a disorder, because it's what makes us unique. Being high functioning autism, like my type, it makes me really passionate at what I love to do for a living and what I'm really interested in. And I know that I'm going to be very good at that when I grow up, and it's going to make me successful with what I love to do, and it's going to make me happier in life. But at the same time, it does cause selective learning, and it causes me to not learn at the same level as other people, and that's why I think it should be used as a tool, really, to show the world that it's full of diversity, and that instead of grading people and teaching them based on standards and what we already know, we need to learn, because life is a learning experience. The saying, live and learn. The world needs to learn what it's like to deal with people that are more diverse, and what it's like to be kind of in their shoes and what they feel. And more than anything, autistic people just want to be heard. And if you're one of those parents that thinks that your kid doesn't know what they're talking about and that it doesn't make sense, quit trying to put them down for it. Encourage them and try to get them to open up more, because if they're having a hard time putting the right words together, just know that it's very, very likely that they know what they're talking about. It's just that they don't know how to put it into words. So yeah, just basically try to invite them in more. Try to listen to what they have to say, because I've known friends who have had parents who didn't do that, and they're very, very miserable people because of it. And one friend, I go over to his house all the time and hang out with him and show him that he does have a friend who's willing to do fun stuff with him and really listen to how he feels and talk with him about it. Because, we just all need somebody who cares, like the Beatles song, "All You Need Is Love." That's all we really do need in life, especially people who are autistic, because it makes us treasure our friends and family that we love and care about even more. And it hurts even more to lose those people, which is why we try to be as nice as we possibly can and try to be just as sweet as possible towards everyone that we really love and care about. And I know it makes us kind of look like softies to the rest of the world. The rest of the world thinks, hey, you need to toughen up and quit being such a wuss and a nerd. When in reality, we're just being who we are, and we should be an example, used as an example of what the world should be. The world should be a place full of diversity and also acceptance and listening. 3 major things, key things to life itself that the world is severely lacking and not even practicing sometimes. And it needs to change. And that's why I'm putting this video up on YouTube, to try to share my life experience. I mean, I eventually got off all those medications and stuff and started to come around and really be who I truly was. But I mean, medications are for some people who really need them, but at the same time, it's not for everybody. And I don't want to hate my parents for doing stuff like that to me, because raising somebody with autism, like I said, is a learning experience within itself. And my parents have told me countless times that they've actually learned more from me than they actually did from all the training manuals and all the seminars and speakers that tried to teach them how to raise their kid with autism, because each one is different. But deep down inside, we all feel the same thing. We just want to be listened to. We want to feel like people care about us and love us, and we want to know that we have people that are going to be with us for possibly our whole lives. We don't like the idea of losing people we care about, and we don't, as autistic people, most of us are really bothered and disturbed by all the unrest, hostility, and unaccepting people that are out there in the world. And that's why I say we got to live together. We got to unite. We got to coexist. We got to learn. We got to be able to learn from the other person who they are deep down inside, instead of trying to learn from what we already know from other people. We need to listen to that person as an individual and hear what they have to say. And a lot of times autistic people are called selfish, but the reason that they're acting selfish is because a lot of times they're dissatisfied. They don't feel like they're getting what they want. And sometimes if it repeats and becomes a recurring problem, sometimes they feel extremely dissatisfied with people always saying no to them or not listening. And it can make us go into a bit of a downward depressing spiral. I mean, I've been through that and out again. I've basically seen the gates of hell just living on Earth here. Seeing all the unaccepting people and all the jerks that are out there. I've been to hell and back again, and practically, and the world isn't an entirely bad place, but at the same time it needs to change, or else it will become an entirely bad place, because it's already hostile enough in a lot of ways. So yeah, that's just kind of my life story with autism. And there's a lot of other people on different levels of the spectrum. Everyone's going to be different. Everyone's going to learn in a different way. We're all going to have different interests in life. But for autistic people, when two autistic people learn to really love each other and care about each other a lot, and become best friends, they cherish that friend like they're part of their family. And that's really the way the world should be. But at the same time, as a parent, just another word of advice: don't go thinking that your kid is obsessing over a certain person just because they happen to hang out with them a lot or talk to them a lot. They really care about that person, and to separate them is the worst thing that you can possibly do, because all that does is take away their happiness. And I mean, what's the purpose of doing that? Taking away somebody's happiness. What is the purpose behind it? So, I will conclude this video by saying that, autism is just another one of those things that makes people unique. It encourages diversity in the world, and it should be used as a learning tool, like I said, for other people to really learn what it's like to be different, and what it's like to kind of be in that person's shoes, instead of just looking at that person like, oh, they're weird, they're a freak. We need to use it as a tool to make the world a better and more accepting place, and a more flexible place too for everybody. We need to coexist. We need to learn to love one another for who we are, and we need to live in peace and harmony.